What's up guys, Sean here, and today yes I, will solve the murder problem in the city of Chicago. And it's going to be the most impressive thing you've ever seen in your entire life. Okay, but before we get into the policy suggestions that I have for solving the homicide problem in the city of Chicago, we need to first go through the numbers and define the problem. Those of you familiar with AA know that admitting a problem or acknowledging a problem is the first step to recovery. Now in 2017, the city of Chicago saw 650 murders. As ridiculously high as that is, it's actually a significant drop off from 2016, which saw upwards of 700 murders. Now it's important to note that although that raw number is astoundingly high, it does not tell the whole story because it is in fact a raw number. In per capita terms, Chicago is not the most dangerous city in America. That title goes to Detroit or St. Louis. They tend to flip back and forth from year to year. In terms of per capita homicide rate, Chicago doesn't quite crack the top 10. However, despite the fact that Chicago is not statistically the #1 murder capital in the United States like a lot of people report, that number is still startling and should be shocking to a lot of you. In the same year, New York City saw only 290 murders, which is less than half the number of murders that we saw in Chicago, despite the fact that New York's population is 3 times that of Chicago. So what that means is that if the city of Chicago was about the same size of New York, there would have been over 2,000 murders last year alone in the city of Chicago. So now that we have an understanding about the scale of the problem in the city of Chicago, let's get into the problem specific to Chicago, because if we're going to design solutions, we need to know what we're trying to fix. Problem number 1 is that young African Americans are shooting each other at alarming rates. Problem number 2 is that a disproportionate amount of this violence is gang related. And problem number 3 is that statistically there's a 50-50 chance that if you murder somebody in the city of Chicago, you're probably going to get away with it. Now, I think we can all agree that any intervention needs to address these 3 problems. So we'll start with number 1. Now, in order to combat this problem, I suggest that we revive an early 90s program from St. Louis, Missouri. This program is called consent searches. And basically what consent searches are is the police going door to door and asking parents for permission to search the household to find illegal guns. Now, if the police find illegal guns, instead of arresting the child for possessing it, instead they will refer the child to some form of counseling. Now, in order to make this work, you need to have a massive advertising campaign to inform parents of the program so that they can call in and request consent searches in their own home. I believe that this is a great way to get illegal firearms off the streets and to get the community on your side. No parent wants to see their kid get arrested or killed, and if there's a way that they can get guns out of their kids' hands without getting them arrested, the chances are that parent will have a positive view of the police department. Now, getting the guns out of the hands of young kids is just the first step. However, in order to address problem 2, which is the high number of gang crime, I suggest that the police take a different tack. For this problem, I suggest bringing back Operation Ceasefire. And the way Operation Ceasefire works is you bring in all the known gang leaders to the police station. At the police station, you let them know that you are assembling a task force to deal with gun violence in the city of Chicago. And you introduce them to representatives from the Chicago PD, the Illinois State Troopers, the BATF, the FBI, the DEA, the Golden Company, SHIELD, and the IRS. And yes, I put the IRS after the 2 fictional agencies because anybody who's actually had to deal with the IRS knows that they are way scarier than an agency that can form the Avengers. After you introduce them to these representatives that form your new ceasefire task force, you have these representatives tell them the new way things are going to work. And what you tell them is that as soon as there's one gun homicide, all these agents are going to be unleashed on your particular gang. This task force is going to attack your gang from every single possible legal angle. We're talking about every law, regulation, traffic violation, whatever they can find, they're going to prosecute you for. And after they're done with you, they're going to move on to the next gang. And this will continue block by block, gang by gang, until you're all obliterated. And the only way to prevent this task force from coming after you is to make sure that nobody in your gang commits a single murder. Now, I truly believe that if the Chicago PD commits to implementing consent searches and Operation Ceasefire, you will see a dramatic reduction in homicides over time. I also believe that both of these programs address problem 3 on our chart, which is the low arrest and prosecution rate for homicides in the city of Chicago. You see, the consent searches let the community know that the police are on their side, and they offer a way out for people who are worried about their children. Operation Ceasefire puts a lot of pressure on gangs and gang members. Both of these in tandem will lead to more people coming forward to testify against the bad actors in their community. And these witnesses coming forward will come both from from within the community, because the consent search program will bring the police and the communities closer together, and they'll come from gang members cutting deals to avoid harsher sentences. These are two policies that seem tailor-made for the problems of Chicago, and I hope they are implemented. And maybe in 5 years, we'll see a 50% drop in the homicide rate. Maybe after 10 years, the city of Chicago's murder rate will look a lot more like the borough of Brooklyn in New York City. Anyway, that's all I really have for you guys today. Let me know what you think about my policy change ideas for the city of Chicago in the comments down below. If you like this video, you know what to do. Subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Till next time.